General Hospital spoilers for Monday. March 31st reveal that the fateful collision that sends Liz into a deep coma not only brings a heavy silence to General Hospital but also unleashes a fierce emotional storm that is consuming Lucky from within. He is not just facing an accident, he is facing a harsh truth. Liz, the woman who was once the greatest love of his life, is teetering on the edge of life and death, and this time, there is no guarantee she will return. For Lucky, this feels like a recurring nightmare, but this time it is far more brutal. Because he knows he may lose her forever, without any chance to fix anything. In the early days following the accident, Lucky is like a statue. He doesn't eat, sleep, or say anything other than repeating questions to the doctors. Can she wake up? What can I do to help? But deep in his eyes is utter confusion, as if all logic has been choked by a terrifying obsession that is erupting, a fear he has no strength to resist. He sits by Liz's bed for hours, holding her hand and whispering things he never said before. Sometimes it's an apology for leaving her. Sometimes it's a gentle smile through tears as he recalls their high school moments, their first kiss, the times they skipped school and wandered around town. The arguments followed by silence and hugs. And sometimes, it's a choked sob, the pain of realizing that he always loved her, but was never there when she needed him most. The obsession Lucky is facing is not just the fear of losing Liz, it's because he sees his past self, repeating mistakes, abandoning, missing out, and now facing the devastating consequences. All the times he chose to leave to find himself, now seem like a series of meaningless journeys when the person he loves most is lying still, and all the good things that could have happened. If only he had stayed. For Lucky, time seems to stand still. Every day that passes is a day he falls deeper into a spiral of torment. He begins to doubt even the goodness he once believed in. He begins to feel lost in the very values he once pursued. If true love is not enough to save Liz, then what is? And if he can't keep her this time, what will the rest of his life be but regret? Every beep of the heart monitor, every time the nurses change her bandages, every time the doctor checks her vital signs, all of these have become milestones tied to the growing obsession inside Lucky. He no longer thinks about his own future. Only Liz's future holds any meaning. And if she doesn't come back, then his world will no longer exist. Those around him try to comfort Lucky, but no one can pull him out of this freefall. Because the obsession is not just about losing Liz, it's about the realization that he is part of everything that led Liz to this tragedy. He can't change the past. But the present is nearly beyond saving. Lucky's inner transformation is no longer just sadness. It's a quiet transformation from the man who always sought light to one who is accepting sinking into darkness because he can't save the love of his life. And in that darkness, a new Lucky may be taking shape, one willing to abandon all principles, all ideals, for just a fragile hope of seeing Liz open her eyes again. Port Charles has seen Lucky fall, rise, leave, and return countless times. But never has the town seen a Lucky so broken and ready to explode, and if a miracle doesn't happen, his obsession will not only burn him, but also scorch everyone he believes is responsible for Liz's suffering. Kristina is entering the darkest and most chaotic phase of her life. As impulsive actions driven by bottled-up anger are causing consequences beyond her control. The worst part is not just that she has lost the trust of those around her, but she is also falling into a deep identity crisis. The revenge plan aimed at Ava, a trap set in a fit of rage, has now become the starting point of a chain of disasters Kristina can't control. It all began with pent-up anger when Kristina felt betrayed, hurt, and abandoned by those she loved most. She carried Molly and TJ's child, but instead of receiving appreciation, she felt pushed to the sidelines. The conflict with Ava also grew more intense as Kristina blamed Ava for indirectly causing her downfall. In a moment of losing control, Kristina created a dangerous plan, hoping to hurt Ava or at least make her lose control. But the plan didn't go as expected. In a tragic twist, it was not Ava who got caught in the trap, but Liz, an innocent bystander who had nothing to do with the hatred between Kristina and Ava. The accident happened unexpectedly, and in the blink of an eye, Liz was severely injured, falling into a deep coma, and the future became uncertain. No one could have predicted that a thoughtless act would push an innocent person to the brink of life and death. From that moment on, Kristina fell into a bottomless pit. Fear, guilt, and obsession began to erode every corner of her mind. Every time she saw Liz lying motionless in the hospital, every time she heard whispers in the hallways, Kristina felt trapped in an endless nightmare. She couldn't forgive herself. And the scariest part, she began to no longer recognize who she was. She had once been strong, rational, passionate about fighting for justice and personal rights. But now, Kristina was becoming someone consumed by hatred, controlled by emotions, and ready to destroy everything because of one impulsive moment. The plan to attack Ava was no longer the focus, because the consequences of it had caused Kristina to lose everything, her honor, trust, and even inner peace. As evidence began to surface, the backlash from the Port Charles community would no longer be mild. Jason and Carly, who were trying to maintain order after Sonny's death, would not be able to ignore the truth being exposed. Alexis, torn between her role as a mother and a fighter for justice, might be the first to decide. Protect her daughter or let her face the consequences before the law. Molly, who had once been close to Kristina, now kept her distance with anger. Finn, who was grieving at Liz's bedside, would certainly not forgive easily. The mental change in Kristina is no longer subtle. It's becoming more evident every day, in every action, in every word. She has become quieter, harder to approach, jumpy, and fearful of others' gazes. She no longer believes she deserves to be loved. And the feeling of being alienated, judged, is pushing her into a dangerous spiral even worse than the original accident, a spiral of self-destruction. Port Charles has never seen Kristina like this, obsessed, disordered, and ready to explode at any moment. She is carrying within her an unrelieved storm, and if no one intervenes, the next disaster may not just be an accident, but an irreversible series of breakdowns. Not just for her but for everyone she once loved. The change in Kristina is escalating, and now the question is no longer, who did what wrong, but, can she find her way back before it's too late? Brennan is quietly initiating a dangerous plan, marking a new idea related to deep strategic adjustments in the power game of Port Charles. At a time when the city is fragmented by multiple crises, from Sonny's death, Liz's coma, to Nicholas's return, Brennan knows that this is the perfect moment to push for a bold move. One that could change the entire existing order. Brennan's new plan is not just about controlling the economy or underground networks, but directly manipulating the emotions and loyalty of young, vulnerable individuals who are easily exploited. And at the center of this calculation is Jocelyn, the Corinthos bloodline girl. Strong yet still struggling to find her place after Sonny's death and personal upheavals. Jocelyn, with her close ties to the Corinthos family, and especially Carly, is being viewed by Brennan as the key to unlocking the door to the next generation of influence, where loyalty, honor, and rebellion can all be weaponized. Brennan doesn't just want to manipulate Jocelyn, he wants to turn her into a living pawn, someone who can break the remaining bond between Carly, Jason, and those trying to hold on to Sonny's image. And this is where Brennan's new madness begins to manifest. He is no longer just a puppet master pulling strings from behind the scenes. Now, he is moving into Jocelyn's personal life, in subtle, sweet, controlling ways. From arranged, accidental meetings, seemingly harmless advice, to moments when Joss feels most understood, Brennan is building a false sense of trust, drawing Jocelyn deeper into a dangerous connection she doesn't recognize. The bigger problem is that Brennan doesn't care about the consequences. To him, if Joss is hurt, if Carly loses control, if Jason has to choose between loyalty to the past and protecting the future, it's all a price worth paying for a coup. He believes that if the younger generation can be shaken, the entire power structure will collapse from within. And as Brennan's crazy actions begin to touch Jocelyn's real life, from surveillance, manipulating personal information, to secretly interfering with her relationships, Port Charles will no longer just be a place of political schemes and power games, but a place where personal safety is ruthlessly threatened. Brennan's new strategic shift is not just changing the way he operates, but drawing a new line between control and obsession, between planning and madness. And if Jocelyn doesn't catch on in time, if Carly doesn't step in to protect her daughter, Port Charles could witness a dark psychological disaster, with Brennan behind the coldest smile. The question now is no longer, what is Brennan planning, but, who will stop him before everything spirals out of control, and Jocelyn becomes the first victim in this insane game. Jason is increasingly noticing strange changes in Anna's behavior, a shift that is subtle but enough for him to sense that something is wrong. Known for rarely doubting without reason, Jason feels an unsettling aura emanating from Anna, the woman once famous for her calm, intelligence, and ability to control any situation. Recently, however, Anna has been acting as though she is hiding a dangerous secret, something that could change not only her life but the power dynamics within Port Charles. Anna has started making unusual decisions. Sometimes illogical, sometimes extreme, as if she is no longer following her own standards. She's investigating matters without informing her team, avoiding former close allies, and even meeting with suspicious figures in secret, all of which keep Jason on edge. His instincts, honed from his time in the underground world, tell him that Anna is not herself. And if she has been manipulated, threatened, or worse, is following a completely new and dangerous path, Jason knows he must act before things spiral out of control. As he begins to quietly track Anna's recent actions, Jason uncovers a web of secret connections she is forming, shady meetings, encrypted files, late-night calls with concealed identities. While he still doesn't know Anna's exact goal, he is certain she is holding onto something dangerous enough to risk her reputation and career. Things take a more alarming turn when Jason discovers that Anna is approaching areas that are under Brennan's control, a man with extreme plans for Port Charles. Is Anna working with Brennan? Or is she trying to take him down from within? Whatever the case, Jason understands one thing: if he doesn't get answers soon, the consequences might be irreversible. Jason's investigation has gone from suspicion to fear. He knows that once Anna has traded transparency for a hidden agenda, she could cross into dangerous territory no one expects. And what worries Jason even more is that if he's right, if Anna is truly being pulled into a dark power network, the woman who was once Port Charles's symbol of justice could become its most terrifying adversary. Jason is not just investigating to uncover the truth. He's racing against time, hoping that if he can understand what is driving Anna, he might still be able to stop her from becoming a distorted version of herself before it's too late. And as always in Port Charles, silence is the most dangerous thing. Anna, with her calm, cold demeanor, is carrying a storm inside, just waiting to explode. Tracy is entering a period of intense transformation, one where there is no room for leniency, and the days of the older, more reserved woman who sat backstage offering sharp warnings are over. This time, Tracy is ready to take center stage, to confront Drew directly, openly declaring war, and carrying out an ambitious plan to regain power, honor, and most importantly, the final say in the Quartermain family. For many years, Tracy has quietly observed. She watched Drew join the family, gradually gaining the trust of those around him, especially individuals Tracy always viewed as the weak symbols of the family: Brooke, Lynn, Michael, and even Ned. She had hoped Drew would be part of ELQ, a bridge to the legacy Edward and Alan had built. But now, Tracy's disappointment has reached its peak as she realizes that Drew is no longer protecting the family values. He is becoming an emotional manipulator, driven by personal relationships rather than strategic thinking. What Tracy can't forgive is Nina's increasing presence in Drew's decisions, a person she doesn't trust. Someone who has tarnished the family's honor, and now quietly infiltrating the power center through Drew's naivety. For Tracy, this is unacceptable. So, she decides to strike back, not with emotions, but with cold, calculated strategy. Tracy doesn't need to shout to declare war. She works quietly, gathering information, swaying silent shareholders, searching for old legal documents that could limit Drew's control over ELQ. She also digs deeper into Drew's recent connections, especially his shady relationship with Nina behind closed doors, which could jeopardize his moral integrity. For Tracy, there's no too low when protecting the family name. If she has to use a scandal to bring Drew down, she will. If she must sacrifice some family relationships to save ELQ, she won't hesitate. But what's more significant is that this battle is not just about power, it's about symbolism. Tracy wants to restore a Quartermaine image that is tough, steadfast, and not swayed by relationships outside the family. She views Drew as a symbol of compromise, someone who has been too lenient, too emotional, and is diluting ELQ's identity. She believes that if this continues, the Quartermaine family will lose its influence and be consumed by forces rising in the shadows, like Brennan. Or even Nicholas. Drew, though strong and influential in his own right, is facing a power he doesn't fully understand, the tough and shrewd Tracy, who is coming back stronger. No longer constrained by age or position. She doesn't need trust, she needs results. And in a battle where she's willing to sacrifice everything, Drew may find there is no room left for retreat. The showdown between Tracy and Drew will not just be an internal ELQ conflict, it will be a wider battlefield that touches Carly, Michael, Willow, and even Brooke Lynn, people who will have to choose sides and face the consequences of going against Tracy. The balance will shift. Alliances will collapse. And ELQ, with all its history, will never be the same. Tracy is no longer on the sidelines. She is back, one last time, and perhaps the most dangerous. With the resolve of someone who has survived many battles. With the pride of a pure Quartermaine, and with the ambition to protect the legacy at any cost, Tracy is not here to negotiate. She is here to win. And in her eyes, Drew is nothing more than an obstacle, no more, no less.